My name is Tara Benavidez, 36 years old. I spent 6 months of overtime checks on a ring that ended up hitting me in the face. 6 months of staying late at the aerospace plant, volunteering for weekend shifts, skipping lunches, telling myself an extra $20 saved here and there would eventually become something beautiful. 2 carats, white gold band, nothing flashy, nothing meant to impress strangers, just solid and elegant. The kind of ring I thought matched the life Derek and I were building. It cost me $8,000. When I proposed, Derek cried, real tears, or at least I thought they were real. He held my face in both hands and said, "You always make me feel safe." Back then, I thought safe meant loved. I didn't know it could also mean temporary. Derek was 34. We had been together almost 4 years, living together for 2. Split rent, split bills, shared a savings account, talked about mortgage rates like adults who believed tomorrow belonged to both of us. I designed ventilation systems for military aircraft at a defense contractor. My job wasn't glamorous, but it was stable, and I was proud of that stability. Derek used to say he loved that about me. "You make chaos feel quiet," he told me once. I carried that sentence around like a promise. Wedding planning took 8 months. He handled most of the flowers, music, and seating charts because he said he had a better eye for atmosphere. I showed up when needed, approved decisions, paid deposits, signed contracts, did my part. My mom liked him. My friends liked him. Everyone said we made sense. I should have paid closer attention to how often people described us as sensible instead of happy. The rehearsal dinner was Friday night. The wedding was scheduled for Saturday at 3 p.m. Around 40 people had come through the church basement earlier, laughing, hugging, rehearsing where to stand. By the time everything cracked open, most of them had already left. It was just me, Derek, the wedding coordinator, and my African gray parrot, Giggsy, sitting in his travel cage in the corner, because I had scheduled a vet appointment right after the rehearsal weeks earlier and hadn't wanted to leave him alone too long. The coordinator was going over last-minute details when Derek suddenly cut her off. "I can't do this." She froze with her clipboard pressed to her chest. I turned toward him slowly. "What are you talking about?" "I can't marry you, Tara." The room went so quiet I could hear the fluorescent lights humming overhead. "The wedding is tomorrow," I said, as if maybe he had forgotten, as if logic could pull him back from wherever his face had gone. "I know when the wedding is," he snapped, "and I'm telling you I can't go through with it. I don't love you. I never really did." Then the ring came flying at me, not handed back, not dropped into my palm, thrown. A full, angry fastball that hit me square in the forehead before clattering across the tile floor. For 1 second, I didn't move. My skin burned where the diamond had struck me. The coordinator gasped. Giggsy shifted in his cage and made a low, clicking sound. "You were always just a placeholder," Derek said, louder now, like cruelty needed volume to feel true. "Someone stable and boring while I figured out what I actually wanted. And what I want is Marissa." Marissa. His childhood ex-girlfriend. The woman who had moved back to town 6 months earlier after what Derek vaguely called a rough chapter. The woman whose name had started appearing too often on his phone. The woman he said was basically family whenever I asked why they needed to talk every night. I bent down, picked up the ring, and looked at it under the basement lights. It was still beautiful. That almost made it worse. "You're serious right now?" "Dead serious. Marissa and I have been talking every single day since she came back. We connect so deeply, your practical little mind could never understand. She gets me. She understands me. You're just safe, predictable. I settled for you because I thought that was what I was supposed to want. But I don't want safe anymore." The coordinator took one tiny step toward the exit. Derek pointed at her. No, stay. You need to hear this too, so you can cancel everything. There's no wedding happening tomorrow. I swallowed hard. My throat felt full of glass. Derek, we've been together 4 years. We've lived together for 2. And you're telling me the night before our wedding that I was just a placeholder? Yes, he said, crossing his arms like he had finally won some private argument I didn't know we were having. That's exactly what I'm telling you. Marissa is the one I should have been with all along. First loves never really die. From the corner, Giggsy suddenly squawked. Derek whipped his head toward the cage. See? Even that bird knows I don't belong here. His name is Giggsy, I said flatly. I don't care what his name is. I hate that bird, and I hate this boring life we built. Marissa has passion. She has fire. You have a 401k and a stupid bird that won't stop screaming. The coordinator cleared her throat. I'll just give you two some privacy. Then she practically ran out. So that's it? I asked. 4 years? And you're done because your childhood ex came back? She's not just an ex, Tara. She's my soulmate. I should have never let her go. Choosing you was the safe option. I'm done pretending I'm in love with you. I slipped the ring into my pocket. All right, he blinked. That's all you have to say? What do you want me to say? That I'll fight for you? Beg you to reconsider? I'm not competing with a fantasy you've been feeding behind my back. His face flushed red. You're not even going to try to stop me? No. I thought you'd at least care enough to fight for us. There is no us anymore. You made sure of that. I picked up Giggsy's cage. I'm going home. You can stay at your mom's tonight since you're so done with this boring life. Fine, Derek snapped. But I'm taking Giggsy. I actually laughed. You're not taking my bird. I paid for half of everything in that apartment. I deserve something. You hate him. You just said you hate him. I deserve to take something from you since you're being such a cold-hearted witch about this. Hand over the bird. No. He grabbed for the cage. Giggsy exploded, screeching and flapping. I pulled the cage back, my pulse finally turning from grief into something sharper. Are you out of your mind? This is my rehearsal dinner too. You just canceled the wedding. There's nothing left to rehearse. A security guard poked his head in. Everything okay in here? No, Derek said quickly. She's trying to keep my bird from me. The guard looked at me. I looked at him. Giggsy looked at both of us and said clearly, Bad man. For the first time all night, I almost smiled. He's my bird. I've had him for 6 years. My fiancé just called off our wedding, and now he's trying to take him out of spite. The guard's expression changed into the tired look of a man who had seen too much public relationship drama. Sir, if the bird isn't yours, you need to leave her alone. This is insane, Derek shrieked. I'm the victim here. The victim? I repeated. You called off the wedding, told me I was a placeholder, threw a ring at my face, and now you're the victim because I won't let you steal my parrot? You're making me look crazy. You're doing that yourself, the guard muttered. Derek lunged one more time. Giggsy bit his finger through the bars, not hard enough to really hurt him, just enough to make his point. Derek screamed like he had been stabbed. That demon bird attacked me! You attacked him first, I said. The guard stepped between us. That's enough. Sir, you need to leave. Now. Derek grabbed his jacket, shaking with rage. At the door, he turned back. You're going to regret this, Tara. When you're sitting alone in your boring apartment with that stupid bird, you'll realize what you lost. Probably not, I said. He slammed the door hard enough to rattle the walls. The guard looked at me. You good, ma'am? I touched the tender spot on my forehead. I will be. I took Giggsy to his vet appointment because apparently routine checkups still happen even when your life detonates. He was unusually quiet the whole drive home. When we got back to the apartment, I opened his cage and he climbed onto my shoulder, pressing his warm little body against my neck. "You knew he was bad news, didn't you?" I whispered. The next morning, I woke up to 47 text messages and 23 missed calls. The wedding was supposed to start at 3 p.m. It was 9 a.m., and my phone was melting down. Derek's mom, my mom, his groomsmen, my bridesmaids, the caterer, the photographer, everyone wanted answers. I sent one group text. "Wedding is off. Derek called it last night at rehearsal. Sorry for the inconvenience. Deposits are non-refundable, but I'll handle cancellation fees." Then I turned my phone off and made breakfast. I had just cracked the second egg when someone pounded on the apartment door. "Tara, open up. I need my stuff." Derek. I opened the door. He pushed past me and headed straight for the bedroom. "I'm moving in with Marissa today. I need my clothes." "Get your clothes, that's it." I followed him because I wasn't about to give him free rein. Giggsy came with me, perched on my shoulder, making disapproving clicking noises. Derek started throwing clothes into a duffel bag. Then he grabbed the iPad off the nightstand. "That's mine," I said. "We shared it." "I bought it. My name is on the receipt. Put it back." He rolled his eyes but dropped it onto the bed. Then he opened the dresser and pulled out a jewelry box. I stepped closer. "Where do you think you're going with that?" "These are mine." Some of those cufflinks were gifts from my father. The antique watch from my grandfather that I let you wear for events is not leaving this apartment. "You're being petty. You called off our wedding 12 hours ago and called me a placeholder. I'm being practical." He huffed but started sorting. I watched his eyes drift toward the laptop, the headphones, the television. He was calculating what grief might let him steal. "Don't even think about the TV," I warned. "We bought that together." "No, I bought that. You chipped in $50 2 years ago. The receipt is in my filing cabinet." Giggsy bobbed his head. Derek snapped, "Shut up." I smiled without warmth. "Talk to my bird like that again, and you can leave with nothing." He stood there, furious, defeated, exposed. Finally, he grabbed his duffel bag. "Keep your boring stuff in your boring apartment with your stupid bird. Marissa has a fully furnished place anyway." "Great, then leave." At the door, he stopped. "I want one thing." "What?" "The ring." I stared at him. "The engagement ring?" "I could sell it." "You mean the ring you threw at my face after telling me you never loved me?" I was emotional. "You were clear." "That's not fair." "You broke the engagement. You don't get the ring." He looked like he wanted to argue, but even he knew how ridiculous he sounded. "Fine. Keep it. Keep everything. You'll die alone anyway." Then he slammed the door. I stood in the silence, surrounded by everything exactly where it belonged, except the man who had finally shown me who he was. An hour later, my best friend Maya came over with food and energy drinks. I told her everything. She listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back and said, "He tried to take Giggsy?" "Yep." "After leaving you for Marissa?" "Yep." Maya shook her head. "Tara, you didn't lose a fiancé. You escaped a future hostage situation." That night, while my phone kept filling with gossip and accusations, one message stood out. It was from Evan, one of Derek's groomsmen. "Hey, Tara, I heard what happened. That was cruel. If you need someone who won't defend him, I'm around." I stared at the message for a long time. I wasn't ready for anything. Not comfort, not answers, not the future. But somewhere beneath the wreckage of that ruined wedding, something small shifted. I texted back, "Thank you." Then I put the phone down, reached up to scratch Giggsy's head, and watched the evening settle over the apartment Derek had called boring. For the first time in years, it felt peaceful. The following week felt like I was cleaning up after a natural disaster. There were honeymoon reservations to cancel, wedding gifts to return, vendors to pay, and dozens of awkward conversations with relatives who kept asking the same question in different words. Did this really happen? Unfortunately, it had. Derek had already moved into Marissa's apartment before the weekend was over, according to my mother, who had heard it from his mother. Apparently, they were already playing house, acting as though the previous 4 years of my life had simply been an inconvenient detour. Work became my escape. I was an aerospace engineer designing ventilation systems for military aircraft. Most people imagined explosions and fighter jets. In reality, it meant endless calculations, airflow simulations, and engineering meetings. I loved every minute of it because machines were honest. If something failed, there was always a reason, unlike people. 2 weeks after the wedding that never happened, my supervisor called me into his office. "I've got something for you," he said, sliding a folder across the desk. "Lead design engineer for the new transport helicopter program." I looked up. "A promotion?" "You've earned it." The same month Derek destroyed our future, my career took the biggest step forward it ever had. More responsibility, better salary, a larger office. Ironically, the stable future Derek mocked was becoming even stronger. I buried myself in work. Early mornings, late nights, weekend testing. Every hour I spent solving engineering problems was an hour I didn't spend wondering whether Marissa had really been worth throwing away 4 years together. About a month later, my phone buzzed. It was Evan. "Coffee sometime?" "No pressure. Just figured you shouldn't have to carry all that by yourself." I stared at the message for nearly a day before replying yes. We met at a quiet coffee shop downtown. He was already sitting in the corner with 2 coffees waiting. "I wasn't sure how you take yours," he admitted. "Black is perfect." For a minute, neither of us spoke. Then he quietly said, "I'm sorry." "For what?" "For standing beside Derek while he was planning to marry you when he clearly didn't deserve you." I smiled sadly. "You didn't know." None of us did. We knew Marissa had come back into town, but Derek kept insisting they were just reconnecting as friends. "Most of you?" He sighed. His cousin knew. She encouraged him. She kept telling him people shouldn't settle for comfort. She said passion mattered more than loyalty. Sounds like terrible advice. It was. We laughed for the first time all afternoon. Conversation became surprisingly easy after that. Evan worked as a pediatric nurse. Spending every day around frightened children had given him a quiet patience I hadn't realized I needed. He didn't interrupt. He didn't offer fake motivational speeches. He simply listened. When we finally stood outside the cafe 2 hours later, he asked carefully, "Would you like to do this again sometime?" "I think I would." Coffee became lunch. Lunch became dinner. Dinner became weekend walks. Nothing happened quickly. Neither of us wanted that. When Evan visited my apartment for the first time, Giggsy climbed directly onto his shoulder within seconds and began gently playing with his hair. I stared. "That's unusual." "Is that good?" "Giggsy has better judgment than most people." The bird clicked happily. "I think he approves." "So I've passed the interview?" "The hardest one." For months we kept things simple. No pressure, no labels. Just 2 people enjoying each other's company. The more time I spent with Evan, the more I realized how exhausted I had been during my relationship with Derek. Loving Derek had always felt like proving my worth. Loving Evan felt like breathing. My promotion officially became permanent 6 months later. I was leading one of the largest engineering projects in the department. My confidence returned piece by piece, until one afternoon, I caught my reflection in my office window and realized something surprising. I looked happy. Exactly 1 year after the rehearsal dinner, an unknown number appeared on my phone. I answered. Tara, it's Derek's mother. I almost ended the call immediately. What do you need? She sighed. It's about Derek. I leaned back in my chair. What about him? Things with Marissa aren't going well. I said nothing. They have a little boy now, and Marissa is expecting another baby. I'm sorry to hear that. No, Tara, you're not understanding. Derek is overwhelmed. Marissa barely comes home anymore. They're constantly fighting. He's exhausted. I waited. He keeps saying he made the biggest mistake of his life. Silence. He talks about you. Still silence. He says you were the best thing that ever happened to him. Finally, I answered. I don't know why you're telling me this. Because you loved him. I did. And maybe... No. She stopped talking. My responsibility ended the night he threw my engagement ring at my face. He was confused. He was certain enough to call me a placeholder. He regrets it. I'm sure he does. He needs someone stable. I almost laughed. He doesn't miss me. What do you mean? He misses what I provided. She didn't answer. He misses certainty, security, predictability. He doesn't miss me. There was another long silence. I heard you're seeing Evan. I am. Derek knows. That's unfortunate. He took it badly. That's no longer my problem. After hanging up, I found Evan studying for graduate school at my kitchen table, while Giggsy sat beside him, chewing the corner of a notebook. Everything okay? He asked. I looked at the two of them. The quiet apartment, the peaceful evening, the life I had slowly rebuilt. Then I smiled. Everything's better than okay. Another 6 months passed. Our relationship deepened naturally. There were no dramatic declarations, no games, no emotional tests, just trust. One Saturday afternoon, while walking through the same park where we'd first talked after coffee, I stopped beside the lake. Evan looked confused. Tara? I reached into my pocket. His eyes widened. You've got to be kidding. I knelt. This ring represents something completely different from the last one. It isn't about proving anything. It isn't about being someone's backup plan. It's about choosing each other every single day. His eyes filled with tears. Evan Brooks. He covered his mouth. Will you marry me? He laughed through the tears. Yes. Then louder. Yes. People nearby applauded. Giggsy, sitting inside his travel carrier beside the bench, suddenly shouted at the top of his lungs, Good man! Good man! Everyone burst into laughter. As Evan slipped the ring onto his finger, I realized something Derek never understood. Real love wasn't exciting, because it was unpredictable. Real love was beautiful, because it was dependable. I thought the hardest chapter of my life had ended that afternoon. I had no idea Derek was about to convince himself that I had always been waiting for him to come back. 6 months before our wedding, my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered anyway. Tara? I recognized Derek's voice immediately. I need to talk to you. About what? About us? I almost laughed. There hasn't been an us for 2 years. He inhaled shakily. Marissa and I are over. I heard. She cheated on me. Silence. Multiple times. I waited. With my cousin. Okay? Okay? He repeated, almost offended. What exactly would you like me to say? His voice cracked. I made the biggest mistake of my life. I didn't answer. I should have never left you. Still nothing. You were everything I actually needed. He sounded exhausted. I have 2 little boys now, Tara. I'm raising them almost by myself because Marissa only wanted the exciting parts of life. She never wanted responsibility. I'm drowning. I'm sorry your children are going through that. They need stability. There it was. Not love, stability. Exactly what he had mocked. Tara, I need you. No. I love you. No, Derek. You love what I used to provide. That's not true. It is. He started crying openly. I've been thinking about you every day. I doubt that. I have. You thought about me after your fantasy collapsed. Silence. I was confused. You were certain enough to throw a ring at my face. My cousin kept telling me I deserved passion. And you believed her. I know she was wrong. You knew that 2 years too late. He took a deep breath. We can still fix this. No. We're supposed to end up together. I'm engaged. Everything became silent. What? I'm marrying Evan. My groomsman? Yes. No. His breathing became uneven. You can't. I can. You're only doing this to hurt me. No. You belong with me. I belonged with someone who respected me. Tara, please. I'm hanging up. Wait! Goodbye, Derek. I ended the call. Across the room, Evan looked up from the dining table. Everything okay? I smiled. Wrong number. Wedding day arrived 6 months later. 3 o'clock. The same season. The same hour my first wedding had been scheduled. Only this time, I wasn't afraid. I was standing at the altar beside Maya, while our guests smiled from the pews. Evan waited at the opposite end, looking nervous in the sweetest possible way. The quartet began playing. Everyone stood. Then someone screamed. Stop! The church doors slammed open. Every head turned. Derek rushed inside carrying a toddler while another little boy stumbled beside him holding his hand. He looked nothing like the confident man who had called me boring. Dark circles, wrinkled clothes, unshaven face, pure desperation. Tara! He shouted while marching down the aisle. Don't do this! The music stopped. Nobody moved. I simply watched him approach. He reached the front of the church. I can't let you marry him. Derek! You belong with me. No. You made your point. What point? You punished me long enough. Several guests exchanged confused looks. He continued speaking as though the entire room didn't exist. Marissa was a mistake. I know. I should have married you. I know. I can fix everything. I shook my head. No, you can't. The toddler began crying. The older little boy clung nervously to Derek's leg. We can still be a family, Derek pleaded. These boys need a mother. I looked directly into his eyes. They already have one. But she'd never... That's still not me. He stepped closer. Tara, please. Security had already started walking toward us. I finally understand. No, I answered quietly. You finally understand consequences. His voice rose. We're soulmates! A grandmother in the front row gasped. You said I was a placeholder. I didn't mean it. You threw a ring at my face. I was angry. You moved in with Marissa the next morning. I was confused. You tried to steal my parrot. Several guests looked at one another in disbelief. My what? My parrot. Even Maya had to hide a laugh. Derek ignored everyone. Please don't marry him. I looked toward Evan. He hadn't moved. He simply trusted me. That trust gave me all the strength I needed. I turned back. You don't love me. I do. No. He blinked. You miss certainty. Silence. You miss someone paying bills. More silence. You miss someone cleaning up your mistakes. His shoulders dropped. You don't miss me. His eyes filled with tears. I was an option, I continued. A backup plan, a safe place you expected would always be waiting after your adventure ended. Security reached him. Sir, we're going to have to ask you to leave. No, he pulled away. Tara, please! The toddler started screaming. The older boy began crying too. Guests looked horrified. I felt sorry for the children, not for him. You expected me to pause my life until yours fell apart. He stared at me. I chose happiness. Security gently guided him backward. He fought them the entire way. You'll regret this. No. Evan will never love you like I do. He already does. We're supposed to be together. We stopped being together the moment you decided I wasn't enough. The church doors closed behind him. Silence filled the room. After a few seconds, I looked toward our wedding coordinator. Let's begin again. She nodded. 20 minutes later, the music started once more. Evan walked toward me. When he reached my side, he whispered, Your ex is completely unhinged. I smiled. That's why my attorney is filing for a restraining order on Monday. He squeezed my hand. Good. We got married. No more interruptions. No more doubts. No more placeholders. Monday morning, my attorney filed the restraining order. It was granted. Derek could no longer contact me or come anywhere near our home. Life finally became wonderfully boring. Exactly the kind of life he once mocked. Over the next year, my career continued growing. Evan finished graduate school. We bought a beautiful home. Giggsy received an entire sunroom filled with climbing trees and toys. Several months later, Maya called. Did you hear? Hear what? Marissa was arrested after another domestic violence investigation involving her new boyfriend. Derek lost custody temporarily while the court investigated the home. I closed my eyes. Those poor children. Months later, I heard Derek had moved back into his mother's basement, unemployed, buried in debt, completely alone. The cousin who had encouraged him to leave me wanted nothing to do with him anymore. Most of his old friends had disappeared. The exciting life he chased had collapsed into exactly what he once claimed he hated. About a year after my wedding, Evan and I were having dinner downtown when I noticed Derek sitting alone across the restaurant. He looked older, smaller, defeated. He saw me. For a brief second, hope returned to his face. He started standing. I simply turned back toward my husband. What were you saying? I asked Evan. He smiled and continued telling me about one of his patients. When I glanced toward the other side of the restaurant a few minutes later, Derek was gone. No dramatic reunion, no final apology, no closure speech. Just two completely different lives moving in opposite directions. He chased excitement. I chose peace. He called me boring. Now every morning I wake up beside a man who chooses me without hesitation, walk into a career I love, and come home to a house filled with laughter, quiet evenings, and an opinionated African gray parrot who somehow saw the truth long before I did. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't making someone suffer, it's refusing to suffer with them.